All right, our first segment today is going to be Shane Gillis over at Saturday Night Live. For those of you who don't know who Shane Gillis is, I think most of you guys probably do. He's a stand-up comedian, and he's been on Joe Rogan podcast several times. He's got his own little shorts and skits and stuff that he does that are really funny. He does an amazing Trump impression, and I think one of the things he's most known for is probably his Down syndrome jokes, because he has Down syndrome people in his family, and he jokes about it, how it nicked him, or he barely dodged it and stuff. I don't want to mess up his joke, but it's funny, and he was a member of Saturday Night Live up until it was time to go on air, apparently, and then they fired him before he ever got on camera because of some of his jokes or tweets or something like that were, offensive to the modern audience, which is basically everything now. Speaking of which, when he did go out and he hosted this past Saturday, he did upset the wrong people, the right people, whatever you want to call it. Shane Gillis bombs on Saturday Night Live with Down syndrome and gay jokes, which makes up quite a bit of his repertoire. The comedian briefly addressed his 2019 firing before getting into material that may have been a bit too edgy for Saturday Night Live. Down here, I'll just go a little bit. There was one big elephant in the room when Shane Gillis walked onto stage to host Saturday Night Live this weekend, and he addressed it straight away. I was actually fired from the show a while ago, but don't look that up. He told viewers, please don't even worry about it. And I will say, it's not for the same reasons that he got fired, but he's in good company, because one of my favorite comedians of all time, Norm Macdonald, was kicked off the show and then brought back later to host. And he famously said that I think it was 1 year that he got kicked off the show. He got fired. They asked him to come back to host, and he said, I don't think I got funnier in a year. The show just sucks. And he wasn't wrong. I mean, Saturday Night Live has gone downhill significally from when I watched it, I think, in its peak, back when you had Adam Sandler and Tina Fey and Tim Meadows and Kevin Nealon and Norm Macdonald and all those guys on there. Phil Hartman, Chris Farley, David Spade. That was really probably the last exceptional class of Saturday Night Live that I'm aware of. And after that, just, a slow decline maybe, but there's nothing to it anymore. But back to this, Gillis then quickly pivoted to a set about how he should probably have become a high school football coach, followed by a joke about his dad being a volunteer girls high school assistant basketball coach, which did not go over well. I thought it was great. Never mind, he laughed. Thought that was going to be a big hit. This was the recurring sentiment throughout the monologue. Although the lack of laughs may not have seemed that noticeable to viewers at home, we know from previous episodes that often sounds a lot worse from the performer's point of view. And this is Shane Gillis's monologue here on Twitter. It was shared. I'm going to link to it in the description below. So in the show notes, you'll be able to get to it, check it out and everything. Look, just to be real with you here, I'm not the biggest Shane Gillis fan. I think he's funny. I don't think all of his jokes land with me either. He's got a good following right now. He's in a really good spot, and that's why Saturday Night Live brought him back on. He's developed a really big fan base, and that fan base spans the left and the right. He tends to pull in a pretty conservative crowd, it seems, from what I've noticed. Some of his jokes are just, I'm grabbing my side. They're funny. But a lot of them, like in the ones Saturday night, kind of some inside jokes that maybe I didn't quite get, and apparently other people didn't get either. But I do like a couple of things, and you would think that the folks on the left or the modern audience would like it. He normalizes Down syndrome a lot. And by saying that, yes, he makes jokes about Down syndrome, but he normalizes it. He talks about how great it is for people with Down syndrome, and how stupid we are to think, oh no, they have Down syndrome. Yeah, they're like the happiest people on earth, right? But he normalizes it. He talks about it, and I think it's great that everybody can be talked about. I do think it's funny, though, that Christian, white, heterosexual men can't talk about anybody, but everybody can talk about us. So if you're not gay, you can't talk about gay. If you're not handicapped, you can't talk about handicap. If you're not a midget, you can't talk about a midget. Yes, I said midget. That's what I've always heard it as, deal with it. Little people, whatever. Brad, I can't think of his last name. Brad, he's a little guy. He's funny. He's very, very funny. But he, obviously he leans into that, right? You're going to. Black guys can talk about white folks and everybody else under the sun. So, I get it, but I don't get it at the same time. But, he was normalizing it. He was making it where everyone could feel comfortable and welcome. And he does that all the time with his jokes. And I hate that's criticized about him, because he does a really, really good job with that. The SNL audience isn't really his audience, you know, if we're being honest about it. They probably weren't when he was there to begin with, but they're definitely not now that he's got his own jokes, his own material that he's developed with different audiences. That isn't it. He did revert to some of his familiar stuff there at the end. Some jokes seemed, like I said, a little inside for me and clearly for the audience too. But overall, he's going to be judged because he doesn't cave to the current modern audience culture. That's really what it's about. This is a guy that doesn't cave in, which is funny because he just picked up a sponsorship with Bud Light, which the far right is, and conservatives are so against Bud Light because of the, you know, transgender and all this and that support they put behind Dylan Mulvaney. And but now Shane Gillis in the UFC and everybody's backing it. So the conservatives are, there's all kinds of controversy in that, all kinds of drama, a lot of misinformation about that as well. I would say look into that if that's something that piques your interest. But you know what, Shane Gillis just seems like every guy's guy. I'd go hang out with him, no doubt. This whole modern audience thing is just weak. I mean, we see what it's doing to TV, movies, everything like that. These people have no sense of humor, right? Everything triggers them. And it's not far left. If it's not far left ideology, it's far right. You have to be far left or else it's far right. So even if you're, you know, left or centrist or, you know, moderate, whatever, if it's not far left, it's far right to them. And you have to be in lockstep or you're just ousted and they don't want you there. And that's very, very sad. That's not a great way to live your life. And yeah, a lot of comics can't mesh with that. So a lot of comics don't go to a lot of states or cities or whatever anymore. We saw that from, can't remember who it was, but he was on Joe Rogan and said he doesn't go to certain cities anymore just because he can't tell his jokes, he can't do his stuff. But like I said, the whole monologue, go listen to it. Some of it's pretty funny. There was one joke in there particularly, I can't remember what it was. It wasn't about his dad or his mom, but one joke was pretty good. I have to remember what that was, and if I can, I'll bring it up later. But leave a comment below. Like if you go watch it or if you've seen it, let me know what you think about the monologue. Was it over the line? Did he criticize somebody too much? Did he, you know, was he being a jerk or anything? Leave your comments below. Let me know what you think. If you're a Shane Gillis fan, I'd love to know what you thought about his monologue too, because again, I am a Shane Gillis fan to a degree. I don't think he's the greatest thing out there, but I like his comedy specials. I've watched a couple of them. I watch his skits. I watch him on Rogan and everything, and I laugh at him. I think he's great, but definitely not one of the greatest in my book, not yet anyways. I think he's still pretty early in his career as far as, you know, to be equivalent to those that are the greats, you know. But yeah, definitely leave your comments below. Let me know what you think, and we'll get on out of this segment. Thank you so much for hanging with me for that.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this clip from the Morning Mayhem. Remember, this is just a portion of the full show that comes out every Friday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern Time. If you hadn't already, don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of the full shows or these tasty little nuggets.